Boy, the political pot is boiling over tonight. Legislators are scrambling to keep their bills alive on Crossover Day 2016. A slight expansion of medical marijuana made the cut earlier today, but you can kiss goodbye to casinos, at least for this year. We'll take you to the Capitol and talk live to legislators, even as they continue to make their way through a long calendar tonight. Lawmakers starts right now. Big day and night for political junkies. Tomorrow's the Georgia primary. Tonight, we have the special Crossover Day edition of Lawmakers. I'm Bill Nigut. Apart from Sine Die itself, this is the most action-packed day of the session. If a bill doesn't get past its House of Origin before the gavel comes down tonight, it's effectively dead until the legislature meets again next year, when they'll have to start all over again. Our Capitol cameras are fired up and ready to go. We've got a long list of special guests lined up to join us as we track the top bills. Let's start with an update from our Capitol reporter, Shelby Lynn. Hi, Shelby. How are you holding up down there?
Well, Bill, pretty good, considering it's been a marathon session here under the Gold Dome today. It's been a long day with a lot to keep track of, and lawmakers are still at it. We begin tonight with Alan Peake's medical marijuana expansion bill. HB 722 passed the House today. It adds 6 more diseases to the 8 that are legally treatable with cannabis oil in Georgia. As you know, this bill was a shortened version of what Peake had hoped to pass. He lost the part of his plan that would legalize marijuana grow operations in the state. That would have allowed authorized families to buy cannabis oil legally in Georgia, something they can't do right now.
We haven't hit a home run today with this legislation, because our properly registered citizens will still have to make very tough decisions about how to obtain medical cannabis oil.
Alan Peake says he's disappointed that he could not convince more of his colleagues to support the idea of producing cannabis oil in Georgia.
Clearly, I didn't make a strong enough case for the need for a regulated infrastructure for cultivation of medical cannabis in our state. But each of us needs to know this issue is not going away. Even if it's not me, someone will be leading this charge in the future. Unless Congress acts to reschedule marijuana from a Schedule I drug, our citizens will not stop demanding that we find a solution that will provide access to a safe, legal, lab-tested medical cannabis oil in Georgia.
Is it not true that with this bill, we are just continuing to try to find a clean, safe, pharmaceutical-grade oil for these citizens that are suffering?
Well, we are expanding the list of conditions that make citizens eligible to possess the cannabis oil. We still have not provided the opportunity to have an access point for that medical cannabis oil. That is correct.
Thank you.
But there are opponents, like Representative Randy Nix. He says he's not happy with HB 722, even though he admits it might do some good.
This piece of legislation you're looking at today has at least 15 different things besides children with seizures. I have yet to have the first physician call me and say, this is something we need. But I will say this, if I vote yes, I'm going to expect the sponsor of this bill to fight as passionately against full legalization, which is where we're going, as he has fought to get to this point.
Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 722 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines.
In the end, HB 722 passed on a vote of 152 to 8, surviving the crossover day deadline. It now moves on to the Senate for review. Medical marijuana is just one of dozens of bills that passed the House and the Senate today, Bill. Here's a look at the status of some of the other measures we've been following since day one. The House overwhelmingly passed HB 727 today on a vote of 165 to 8. The fireworks bill would restrict the time and place pyrotechnics can be used in Georgia. Representative Paul Battle sponsored the bill. He says fireworks need to be regulated at the local level.
So that local authority really deals with a couple of issues. First of all, they would actually do the permitting of that location where fireworks will be sold. Also, the local authorities would be in charge of the health and public safety issues. Those health and public safety issues are something as to the effect of noise ordinances.
Also part of the bill, penalties for lighting off fireworks while intoxicated.
We felt like that someone who was actually using fireworks that was intoxicated, and that intoxication level would be 0.08. And that is once it goes over that, it's illegal.
The measure would also allow local authorities to determine fireworks sales locations. In addition, it would allow the governor and/or the DNR to ban them in the case of a drought. The bill now heads over to the Senate for consideration. Also in the House today, a measure that would give an income tax credit in exchange for hiring a parolee. HB 828 would provide a $2,500 tax credit to any employer hiring a person released from prison on parole within the previous 12 months. The bill passed on a 153-16 vote. It was sponsored by Representative Virgil Flood and now heads to the Senate. House lawmakers also passed the Georgia Spaceflight Act by a wide margin, 164-8. HB 734 would prevent passengers on suborbital rides from suing the spaceflight operator if something goes wrong, barring gross negligence. Representative Jason Spencer of Woodbine sponsored the bill as part of the effort to bring a spaceport to Camden County along the Georgia coast. Spencer has said the Spaceflight Act will help make Georgia competitive in the space race. The legislation is similar to rules that are already in place in other space-friendly states. Also today, a drone bill flew through the House, passing on a unanimous vote of 171-0. Representative Kevin Tanner's HB 779 would regulate drone use, including privacy and security, and the images captured using drone technology. The House formed a study commission last session to review the use and development of unmanned aerial vehicles. Tanner's bill now goes to the Senate. Also tonight, the Senate passed two tax resolutions. SR 604 is a constitutional amendment that would prevent the state from levying its own ad valorem taxes. The other is SR 756, which would gradually lower the state income tax rate as long as the state's economy remains strong and revenues remain at their current levels. Both bills passed on a 2/3 majority, and if the House approves, the issue will be decided eventually by Georgia voters. Finally tonight, Bill, one thing that didn't come up today was a couple of casino gambling measures. House Speaker David Ralston announced the casino bills have been postponed until the next legislative day. What that means is the legislation is now dead for this session. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Shelby, you have had a very busy day. We appreciate all your work today. Thanks. So we have a number of people lined up who are going to talk to us live from the Capitol, a number of legislators who are down there. They're working well into the night to get through this day 30 of the session. First up at our position at the Capitol is Senator Vincent Fort. Senator Fort, are you there? Hey, Senator, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good to hear from you.
Thanks a lot for being here. Senator, it feels to me as if this crossover day doesn't have as much at stake as we've seen in the past. I mean, a few things did go down today. For instance, casino gambling is not going to make it across for the session. It'll have to start all over with the new bill next time. But the big bills that we've all been paying the most attention to seem to already be in play one way or the other. Do you agree with what I'm saying? Or are there some measures today that you are very worried either didn't make it or aren't going to make it?
Well, I agree with you that the substantive bills have already passed, but today was very consequential to the extent that we saw a lot of bills pass that are kind of divisive, the English as a second language, and other bills that show that the Senate has lost its position as kind of the cooling saucer of our democracy. And, you know, the Senate is just about as overheated and extreme as the House is.
So the Senate's the English as the only language bill. Just to be sure, let's make sure our viewers are aware of this. We already have a statute that says English is the official language of Georgia.
Right.
This is the resolution calling for a constitutional amendment, correct, to guarantee that no one can ever change that statute. Isn't that right?
That's it. And it's bad enough when it's a statute, but now it could be embedded in the Constitution of the state. So this is consequential to the extent that it's kind of a sea change. In the Senate, Republicans have 39 votes. They can pass any constitutional amendment that they want to. And, this has been what I call the guns, God, and gays session. And the Senate used to be kind of a stopper to bad stuff. That's no longer the case.
Senator, the casino legislation, David Ralston, the Speaker, put it aside today. Is it a good thing or not? You've had an army of casino lobbyists down there. Is it a good thing that this isn't going to happen this year and that maybe over a period of time people could consider it a little bit more thoughtfully? Or do you think it should have moved forward?
No, I think it was good that we slowed it down. I think it needs a lot more vetting, a lot more public discussion. I'm not for it in any instance, but I think it's a good idea for the public to learn more about the impact of casino gambling. That's why I'm glad it's not moving this year.
Senator, what are you, without regard to crossover day, but just the last 9 days after tonight of the session coming up, what are you most concerned about that you want to get through this session?
Well, I'm going to personalize it. I have a bill to rein in Park Atlanta and other third-party parking enforcement companies that prey on people here in Atlanta and other places in the state. That's my number one priority. I was told I wasn't going to be able to get it through before crossover. I did that last week, and we're going to go over to the House and try to get a fair hearing and get it passed so we can rein in these predatory park enforcement.
All right, Senator Fort, I know that Senator Josh McKoon, your colleague, is waiting to come to the camera next. So thank you very much for being with us. I hope you don't have too long a night ahead of you, Senator Fort. I hope you get out at a reasonable time, but thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Bill. Take care.
So right now, we're going to look, Senator Josh McKoon is going to be with us in just a moment. The Senate has just gone into recess, but you can see our live camera in the House right now. They are voting on one of the many bills that they've got before them today. I think this morning the list of rules, calendar bills, something like almost 30 bills. And of course, throughout the day, they can add bills. The Rules Committee can meet pretty much in an ad hoc session and add bills to the calendar. But they're still going strong. So, as I said, the House in session right now, as you can see. The Senate is in probably a dinner break. Senator Josh McKoon is with us now. Senator, thanks an awful lot for being here.
Glad to be with you.
So, Senator, let me start with something that you may have heard your colleague, Senator Fort, say. He's disappointed, he's distressed that the resolution calling for a constitutional amendment making English the official language of Georgia is moving forward. I suspect you're not as happy about, you are happy that it's going forward.
I'm delighted, Bill. This is a law that's worked well for Georgia for the last 20 years. We're going to give the voters an opportunity in November, hopefully if we can get this through the House, to make it part of our Constitution. Well over 70% of all voters want this opportunity, so I'm glad the Senate gave final passage today.
Senator, on the other hand, a measure that you have worked on that you have said matters to you is your bill that would establish a different kind of driver's license for those who are here under DACA, who are temporarily at least in this country without legal residence here. You can explain better than I just what that driver's license would say, but it did go down in defeat, right?
No, it actually passed, Bill. We got
I'm sorry.
37 votes in favor of it, so it'll be moving to the House as well.
I apologize, but now it's more important than ever that you explain what that bill does.
So it would simply replace the Georgia driver's license being issued to folks that are in the country with no lawful status with a driver's safety card. And that driver's safety card would still give them the authority to drive our roads lawfully, but it can't be used for identification purposes and a lot of the other ways that the Georgia driver's license is used.
There is language on that card. What does your bill call for the card to say specifically?
So it has a vertical orientation like the under 21 driver's license does. It says no lawful status. It says that it can't be used for any identification purposes. It just makes it very clear to the officer that would be dealing with the holder of that card that they are in the country with no lawful status.
This is the kind of measure that shows us just how divided, I think, we are between some Republicans and some Democrats down at the Capitol. You have a lot of support. As you said, the bill passed, and I'm glad you clarified that, in the Senate. There are an awful lot of people down at the Capitol who, on the other side of this thing, are in the strongest language, denounce this as labeling a class of people, and they talk about it much the same way that the Japanese were interred in this country during World War II. What do you think when you hear that kind of rhetoric?
Well, I think that overheated rhetoric tells you, Bill, there's not a policy argument on the other side of this thing. I mean, this is common sense legislation to deal with very real voter integrity and public safety issues while recognizing the reality that folks that are here on deferred action are here. We're giving them a way to lawfully drive the roads. I think it's a very good balance from where we started with Senate Bill 6. Initially, we were saying no driver safety card, nothing. And so we compromised. And I think that's reflected in the fact that the bill almost passed with a 2/3 majority vote.
Senator, you're an affable guy, but your measures sometimes don't meet with great success across the building in the House. How do you think this one stacks up right now?
Well, I know that the people all over the state are very interested in both of these measures. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that my House colleagues have the same opportunity the Senate had today for just a simple up or down floor vote. That's what we're going to ask for, and hopefully that's what we'll get.
All right, one last quick question. Without regard, again, to this being crossover day, in the next 9 days of the session, all of the religious liberty bills will come to a head. You've been a proponent of most of the measures that you believe help ensure the freedom for people to practice their religion without interference by the government. Where do you really think these measures stand? Do you think the House, which has shown a reluctance to go too deeply into this beyond pastor protection, is likely to help pass the legislation you favor?
Well, the Senate's taken a strong position this session and last session on religious freedom, passing the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, passing Senator Kirk's First Amendment Defense Act. The state Republican Party, the Republican National Committee, 11 of our 14 congressional district conventions have all taken strong stands on this. So I will be very disappointed if we don't see an opportunity for our House colleagues to have a vote on a substantive religious freedom measure. Right. I know they want one.
All right, Senator McKoon, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate your being here. We know that you will be at the center of an awful lot of activity in the days ahead, especially as you and your colleagues who have been supportive of religious liberty legislation move forward to try to get something accomplished. Thanks so much for joining us, Senator.
Thank you for having me.
Let's go back and take another look at the camera from the State House. They're moving through these bills quickly. Well, now we're in debate. They're debating a measure that requires disclosure of people who have AIDS to determine. To require, I'm sorry about my stumbling on this a little bit, to require disclosure if you have AIDS when you go into the public sphere. So it's an interesting bill. We'll see how it moves forward. That's Speaker David Ralston presiding over it. This is a hard, long day to be a presiding officer at the Georgia State Capitol. It requires a great deal of stamina, but they're going to get through it, I'm sure. The Democratic leader of the state Senate is now with us, Senator Steve Henson. Senator Henson, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So let me ask you, let me go to something we haven't talked about yet. Alan Peake, we just reported on some moving comments he made from the well of the House today. His measure, he's worked very hard on his measure to have production, limited production, controlled production of cannabis oil for people who are now legally able to obtain it. That bill, of course, didn't get passed this session, and he seemed terribly disappointed. Do you think it is a bad thing that that measure is not going anywhere this year?
Yeah, I'm frustrated. I think for a lot of us that have seen the families down here, the suffering and the concerns that the parents have, are kind of frustrated we haven't been able to move forward with that. It is a measure that, it'd be nice if the governor was on board and will help move forward with it. But yeah, I'm disappointed. I understand, he's been very close to some of these families and he's very frustrated by not being able to move forward with this.
What's the stumbling block been, as far as you can tell?
Well, for one thing, there's a lot of people think of the slippery slope issue of, once we have medical marijuana, the future would be Colorado or full use of marijuana, and that's not the case. His bill is limited to, the cannabis oil. It's very restrictive. It's not for public use, but I think it's a slippery slope issue. People can talk about worried about federal laws and the University of Georgia and federal grants coming to some of these universities. I don't think that's it. I think it's a slippery slope issue slowing us down. But for the children in Georgia who need this medicine, we need to try to be, I think, more diligent in trying to get something resolved.
Let me get one more bill in, if I can, or two actually. Sure. The bills that would give Georgians tax breaks, tax benefits on their income tax, passed out of the Senate and are headed to the House. Good idea or bad idea?
Well, you're talking about the one out of the Senate. First of all, we have a constitutional amendment that would be a tax break, income tax break.
Right.
If we had a certain amount of money.
Right.
It's a bad idea. If we get to that time in 2018 and we have extra money, we should pass the tax break then. We shouldn't predict that there won't be 2 million more people in Georgia. The formula that we have to set it up is totally incomplete. It's not a good way to do business, and quite frankly, it's political gamesmanship and somebody just trying to take credit for a tax cut that we're not actually cutting taxes today. We're going to do it a few years around the road, but want to take credit for it now for political reasons.
All right, Senator Steve Henson, we appreciate you taking some time. I'm sure we'll see a lot more of you in the next 9 days of the session. Have a good evening down there.
Thank you very much.
We have a lot more ahead on Lawmakers as we follow crossover day at the Capitol, and we'll be back in a moment with all that.
There's no sun on your face. You never feel this cold breeze. It's always exactly the same.
Scott Kelly is spending a year in space, traveling over 139 million miles.
If the tragic thing was to happen, I think it's worth it, being part of something larger than yourself.
Part of GPB's Why Wednesday, this Wednesday at 8.
Tomorrow is Super Tuesday, when voters in 13 states go to the polls. In this neck of the woods, tomorrow is known as the SEC primary, since many of the states, including Georgia, are part of college football's Southeastern Conference. Whatever you want to call it, don't miss your chance to vote tomorrow. Welcome back to Lawmakers. It's day 30, crossover day. We're talking live to members of the state legislature as they burn the midnight oils, trying to get as many bills as they believe ought to get across to the other side of the building as they can. Senator Bill Cowert is joining us live right now. Senator, thanks for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Thank you, Bill. Good to be with you.
How are you holding up on this day 30?
They're doing great. We had a great day in the Senate. We passed 25 bills, started at 10 a.m. and finished up around 7, so we're very proud.
Oh, you're out for the night now.
We're done for the day.
I apologize. I was told that maybe you were just taking a break. Thank you for correcting that. So, Senator, let me talk to you about casinos. There are an awful lot of people, a lot of money was spent lobbying on behalf of legislation that would start the process of legalizing casinos in Georgia. They're not going to go anywhere this session, and the whole process starts all over again since we're at the end of a 2-year cycle. You have never been a big big proponent, whether it's horse racing or casinos. So I assume that right now you must be breathing a sigh of relief?
Well, it's such a complicated subject, you know. It's a transformative type change for the state of Georgia to legalize gambling, casinos, and horse races. I served on the study committee, and it's really a complicated issue. I think it probably does need a little more study before our state goes that direction, and I'm glad we're being deliberative about it. We're looking at all the angles, and we're making certain that we have a consensus before we move forward with that to put it to a vote for the people.
Senator, one more question. At this stage, 30 days in, what piece of legislation do you feel you can take back home to your constituents and say, so far, this is what I'm proudest of that we did this session?
We have so many things, and we have passed most of the Senate Republican caucus's agenda for the year. We passed most of those bills in the last 30 days. The one that I carried that I think is very important for the future security of our state was Senate Bill 416, which we passed today. It codifies what had been implemented by executive order under Roy Barnes and continued with Sonny Perdue and Nathan Deal. And that is what they call the Fusion Center. It's a collaborative effort between the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, our GBI, our National Guard, State Patrol, many agencies in the state to fight and combat terrorism.
All right, Senator Cowert, we thank you very much. We're running short on time, but I appreciate your taking a few minutes for us. Congratulations on the measure that you just described, getting it through. We appreciate
that. Talk to you about it in the future.
All right, we will talk to you. I know that Representative Calvin Smyre, one of the Democratic leaders over in the House, is standing by to talk to us right now. He's having a busy day and night as he works on, well, he's here. There you are. Hello, Representative Smyre. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much, Bill.
So we have very little time, but let me just ask you a quick summary question. How do you, at this point in the session, with just 9 days to go after tonight, how do you characterize what you're seeing happen downtown? Are there a lot of good measures getting passed? Are you worried about things like religious liberty? Do you worry that there's been too much attention focused on issues that aren't as substantive as the ones that have gotten the headlines? Just give us your summation.
Well, my really summation is that in terms of the bills that we've had, of course, the religious freedom bill has occupied a lot of time, and then we have some disappointments. Of course, to me, Martyr was a major disappointment because of the economic development aspect of it and transportation. We were on a big transportation kick last year, as you know, and trying to raise $1 billion for transportation, but losing Martyr was a major blow in my opinion, not only to congestion and saving a lot of money in the state, but also for business development purposes.
And there was so much positive feeling about it that Republicans and Democrats were actually coming together to support this legislation. Having failed the way it did this year, do you think there's much optimistic opportunity for a new bill to be introduced next session and get somewhere?
I do think there's some room. I think somewhat politics got in the way a little bit. This is an election year. Just as we bit the bullet a few minutes ago on casinos and here in the state of Georgia, issues of this magnitude require a little time, and well, we thought we would come back after last year and get Martyr this year, but I think that there's still an opportunity out there, and I think we have to continue in that regard.
All right, Calvin Smyre, thank you so much for coming by. I know that you've got to get back. You still have a couple hours to work? Or are you trying to get out of there sooner?
A couple more hours to go.
All right. Well, have a good night and get a good night's sleep. Thanks a lot, Calvin Smyre.
Always in with you.
You too. Well, that's it for Day 30, Crossover Day. There's just 9 days to go after tonight. Tomorrow, the legislature won't be meeting. The lawmakers are taking the day off because it's Election Day here in Georgia. But you can tune in to GPB Radio tomorrow for a special edition of Political Rewind at 2. We're going to have a lot to talk about as voters, that's you, go to the polls to cast your ballots in the Republican and Democratic presidential contests. And then we'll have our regular broadcast Wednesday at 2 and Friday at 3, so join us for Political Rewind on those days as well. So much politics, so little time. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you back here again Wednesday night. Please go out and vote, and only do it once. Thanks a lot. I'm Bill Nigut. Good night.
original action, the petition for visitation rights, or to intervene in an existing custody case to fight for those rights. And they have to show not just best interest of the child standard, but also the health or welfare of that child will be harmed.